guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm gonna be reacting to a video called The Worst Natural Disaster in Canadian History, Ice Storm 1998. I have to admit I'm not that sure what an ice storm actually is. It's a snowstorm but colder. I have no idea, but maybe we're gonna find out. So let's check it out and comment, like and subscribe.
Montreal, Canada. Its 3.5 million inhabitants are used to extremely severe winters. They have no choice, as bitterly cold temperatures and heavy snowfalls of as much as 15 inches at a time bury the city.
This is a yearly occurrence, I would assume?
This city knows bad weather. But there is one kind of winter storm that is the toughest to beat: the ice storm.
So Montreal has got its first forecast of freezing rain. This is all ice. This is absolutely surreal. Look at this. Holy crap.
It's just a chunk of ice.
Wow. Everything just gets covered in like centimeter thick layer of ice. I went way further than I expected. Whoa. That is too satisfying.
You can't even walk. It's not nice. It's not just, oh, what a beautiful sort of snowstorm. Well, nobody says it's beautiful, but it's just snowflakes. No, this is actual ice.
I'm never gonna get sick of that.
How are you even walking?
Ice
Oh my
storms are
god.
created by atmospheric circumstances that are so unique, they seem impossible. Unlike New York, just 300 miles to the south, Montreal gets hit by freezing rain an average of 10 days per year. The reasons are location and geography. When warm air from the south meets cold northern air, this creates the ideal conditions above Montreal for extreme winter weather. And because Montreal lies in the midst of the St. Lawrence River Valley, the situation is intensified. As this warm air from the south rides up over the surrounding mountains, it traps the cold polar air in the valley below. As the warm air rises, it releases rain, which falls through the cold layer.
Okay, so it's more about rain and less about, well, it's obviously a combination of factors, but rain has a lot to do with this.
The perfect amount of cold air then supercools the rain, causing it to be cold enough to freeze the moment it hits the ground. The longer these conditions remain, the more severe the weather becomes.
Yeah, because obviously, as with rain, or the more it rains, the worse the thing gets, obviously.
So if the perfect ice storm were to strike, it would begin on a January day in the skies above Montreal.
Oh, and it was in January.
It's just surreal.
Usually, I think the colder days in winter are usually between January and February, so this doesn't surprise me that much.
Like the entire city just coated with ice. This is honestly so much fun.
Well, yeah, fun, but he's in there and it's fun. I don't know if it's fun. I think it's, well, maybe a little bit interesting and fun if you're looking at it from the outside, but if you're there, you're not thinking, wow, how fun this is.
Ice storms are not unusual in Canada, coating the landscape with a beautiful
Okay, but they're super used to even ice storms, okay.
shroud of ice.
Ice formation generally ranges from a trace to 1 inch in accumulation.
But in January 1998, Canada was hit by a storm that was anything but usual.
Okay, so probably it's more about quantity than anything else. We always get ice storms, but not like this.
In 1998, Montreal suffered the most disastrous, tragic, and expensive ice storm in recorded history.
Okay, that's
Even
bad.
for people who grow up in Canada in the eastern part of the country, where winter they take pretty much for granted, have never seen anything quite like this.
The damage here is staggering.
Of course, it's gonna be, because everything sort of gets sort of frozen and wet, and it's gonna damage, I think, pipes and just basically everything, all the sort of electrical things. It's gonna be a disaster for the city.
Montreal seems like a city truly under siege tonight as
Oh my god,
thousands of troops move in
yeah, exactly. Sort of I think those were the electrical poles. I think that's gonna be a disaster.
on a mission of mercy. In Quebec alone, more than 1 million households, that's up to about 3 million people, left without electricity.
I've never seen
Oh yeah, and that's without counting obviously all the trees and stuff that fall in trees and houses.
anything like this in my life. I never would imagine that something like this could happen. I'm freaking out.
The 98
I love how nice she was. She was, I'm freaking out, but saying this with a smile.
ice storm was Canada's worst natural disaster, affecting over 5.4 million people, or 1/5 of the country's population.
Virtually no one east of Ottawa has power tonight.
The storm blanketed an area larger than the state of Florida, 120 miles by 600 miles.
This is the largest storm event in NYSEG's history.
That's
We
crazy.
suffered damage to our electric lines to the tune of about 1,850 miles. One of our engineers equated to a trip from here to Albuquerque, New Mexico.
I don't even want to imagine how expensive this was and how long it took them to sort of fix this.
5 days, multiple layers of
5
ice
days.
built up because of the relentless freezing rain that weighed down everything it touched.
Oh my god.
During the ice storm in a 5-day period, we had 80 hours of freezing rain that produced 100 millimeters of ice.
That's crazy.
A lot of ice all at one time.
Eventually, the city's infrastructure began to collapse.
Oh my god.
When you
everything's
saw
falling.
electrical pylon suddenly buckle in front of your eyes, you knew right away this was going to be major problems.
Well, yeah, it would be catastrophic. You know, it's a disaster.
We're not talking a repair job, it's a total rebuild.
4 million people lost power.
A devastating scene across the Champlain Valley and beyond. Thick ice, more than 3 inches
Is that a lake as well? I think that Champlain's a lake.
in some spots, coating everything.
Over 17 million acres of forest were damaged in northern New England and upstate New York.
Oh, no.
Some trees carried 40 times their weight in ice.
And across the border, they were devastated.
Oh, of course, because it's heavier. I hadn't thought of that.
Montreal got hit hard. Tens of
Montrealers were
thousands.
burning the wood off their front porches and fireplaces in some cases that hadn't been used for 50 years.
And we saw an incredible sight, these huge power lines that people see driving from the border north to Montreal. Just absolutely
Bent right over.
amazing sight.
And Quebec stayed that way for quite a while.
After the storm, 3,000 kilometers of power lines were destroyed at a cost of over $800 million.
That's so
The
expensive.
economic impact of the storm has been devastating. Insurance companies now estimate they'll pay homeowners $500 million to repair their property.
I hadn't even thought of the insurance companies. Yes, of course, they're gonna be devastated as well.
Making this the most expensive natural disaster in Canadian history.
Oh my god. This is a week. This is crazy.
The sound of snapping branches and power lines, something that few will ever forget.
We could hear the trees crashing. It sounded like thunder. Some sounded like gunshots. We could hear them just crunching and crashing and going down.
It's very
my
loud.
wife and I just sat there.
Was the maple production affected? I would assume, right?
We didn't know what to do.
In Pakenham, west of Ottawa. Listen, and you'll hear a forest dying.
Sounds awful.
Like gunfire, the sound of maples falling.
Oh no. Why is she crying?
Really tough to see.
Oh, it's awful.
Shirley Fulton's family has been running this sugar bush for 150 years.
Oh, because they're their own trees, and of course they're farmers. It's their livelihood, right?
You shouldn't be able to see the sky here. It'll take 40 or 50 years for the bush to recover.
Oh my god.
Geologists have called the storm a 100-year event.
Okay, I would be crying as well. Okay.
But what many people don't realize is that it may take that long for our forests to recover.
Oh my god.
Mother Nature doesn't really make
So it still hasn't recovered from what I could see.
rational choices. It can hit anywhere and
Yeah.
affect anyone and kill people, injure people, ruin livelihoods without, the blink of an eye.
And it's not anyone's fault, and you can't blame anyone. It's just nature. We have to live with
We
this.
really, really appreciate the power of nature and the power of weather. And ultimately, no matter how much technology we have, no
You
matter
can fight
how equipped we are, no matter how prepared we are, people will always be profoundly affected by weather.
Yeah.
Days out from a storm, it's hard to
You're kind of at the mercy of this because it's more powerful, and nature is great, but also has some other things.
predict exactly what'll happen. But in early January 1998, we saw dangerous conditions headed our way.
This is rain. This is rain that means business.
And we knew it was going to be bad.
You're going to have a major
Okay, so they knew beforehand this was not normal.
icing problem.
The way it visited itself upon us,
At least they took some caution, at least, I think.
it creeped in It was a couple of days of just that little
January 4th,
little bit of rain,
1998.
little bit, almost mist.
Yeah.
It was just this slow, silent build up until we realized that we were in deep trouble.
Yeah, I think it escalates probably.
It was Monday, January 5th, 1998. Quebecers going back to school and work after the holidays.
I can't believe people are walking in normal shoes. Shouldn't you be wearing ice boots?
It wasn't a very nice day.
Yeah.
Too much ice. The ice is terrible. All over the place.
Love the understatement of the century. The ice is everywhere. Yeah, lady.
Broadsetter, this is Daybreak on CBC Radio 1940 in Montreal.
The worst part, that was sort of melted ice. It was just gross water.
Well, if you do not have to go out, do not, unless it is...
I love that person with the umbrella because the umbrella's not going to do it's not going to do any good.
Absolutely necessary. Stay home.
Stay home.
Highways become skating rinks.
Oh my
and
God.
Back roads, bobsled runs.
This is very, very dangerous, and that's why they'll advise you not to do this. I think you're supposed to sort of let the car sort of do whatever it has to do. Do not put the brakes.
Almost 15,000 trees in Montreal are broken or down. Dozens of streets are closed. Power
And was this only the first day?
lines ripped to the ground. Homes and cars damaged.
As I walked up, I said, oh, lucky me, the back windshield has no ice on it. And I got a little closer to find out that I didn't have a back windshield. I don't have much of a front windshield.
The city tries to clean up the mess. Mother Nature keeps making the mess bigger.
The worst neighborhood.
Yeah, because you're still sort of in the thing, so you can't do a lot of things because it is still happening.
Are definitely NDG, Maisonneuve, and Rosemont.
Late that afternoon, the city opens 2 shelters for people who have no power.
Oh, okay, shelter. I was about to say, what are they doing with the school open?
Need help. Then, the real power of the storm hits during the afternoon.
So much ice fell that 8 high-voltage power lines crumbled like toothpicks, their cables strewn across a busy highway near Drummondville. Hydro workers have never seen it so bad.
I didn't know this could happen, I have to admit. Not by ice.
About 400,000 homes are without electricity. More than 600 crews are working to restore power. Here's a look at the area affected by the storm. A region that stretches from in and around Ottawa to Montreal.
How many people live
and
there?
up the south shore of the St. Lawrence.
We haven't seen anything remotely like this since about February of 1961. We got about 50 millimeters.
Okay, so 30 years before this, most people weren't even alive back then.
Worth of
Where they were, but probably they were kids.
ice. Today, we're getting there. We have about 18 millimeters on the ground, on the cars, on the trees.
Darren Solomon, our reporter, is outside right now to fill us in with some more information. Darren, what's the latest Hydro says about how many customers are without power?
In all of Quebec, 755,000 homes without electricity.
Almost
In
anyone, I guess.
Montreal, on the island, we're talking about nearly
Everyone.
250,000 homes.
Does Hydro have any new estimate about when people will be getting their power back?
They still
Probably
say
not.
it could take about 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
The forecast for that night and for the next day, Tuesday, January 6th, was for freezing rain. But that forecast didn't say 4 days of freezing rain. It didn't say the ice storm of the century that's going to turn your lives upside down. But that's what we got.
Well, yeah, of course they're not magicians. They can't know this.
This is a look back when the triangle of darkness descended on the South Shore and when the ring of power around Montreal broke down. This is day 2 of the ice storm crisis.
And all the workers, everyone in public service, hands up to them because wow.
In Montreal, the freezing rain has started again. There are still 500,000 homes in the southern part of Quebec that do not have electricity.
Command Central at Hydro-Quebec. Workers have been dispatching crews around the clock, trying to deal with one of the biggest blackouts in Quebec history.
So the branches are falling all over the place. They're breaking the wires. We're putting them back up 2 hours after alarms go off, and it just went down again.
Yeah, because I would assume, we're going to fix this, but it's going to happen in 10 hours again.
Hydro wasn't the only outfit on the road. The city's crews were scrambling to stay on top of the mess.
Across town, several apartments were evacuated. People had used propane-powered generators to stay warm and ended up poisoned by carbon monoxide.
Oh my god. Can't you do this? Is that legal? Probably not a good idea. They had to call the firemen.
Everyone told Montrealers to keep off the streets.
Yeah.
More shelters open for people
Shelter
without
in place.
electricity.
Do you want a soup, ma'am? Yes, please.
After an emergency cabinet meeting in Quebec, the premier issued a warning.
I think that we must tell the population that they should not hesitate to leave home if they feel like it.
Those who tried to tough it out at home, some people's
I have no idea what I would do in this moment. It's maybe shelter in place, but stay at home probably. I don't know. It's a tough decision.
problems only got worse. This man's house caught fire after using his fireplace for 2 days straight.
Oh my god.
Hey, it's going to go down.
Can fireplaces do this? Can your fireplace get caught getting fire? I had no idea. What?
On the history as the ice storm of
If you leave them running for that long, that happens. That can happen. I'm scared.
98. It's bad, and it is not over. Hundreds of thousands of people in Montreal and across Quebec are
It's bad and it's not over. Okay.
still without electricity right now. Things aren't going to get better fast either. More freezing rain said to be on the way.
That would be my main concern. It's still going. We're not done yet. It's still gonna keep happening.
It's
We're not seeing
freezing
the
rain
worst.
once again tonight, the second wave of a storm system that has caused chaos since Monday night.
I'm wondering if when the ice, rain is falling, because it's ice. If it hits you, it's sort of hail. It's sort of, oh my god, I'm feeling it on my skin, on my body.
More than 100 temporary shelters are open, and at least 2 deaths are being blamed on the big freeze.
Oh my god.
Now, with the freezing rain expected to continue right through the night, the big concern here now is that what is already a very dangerous situation could get even worse.
Yeah.
Bad news, Dennis. The second part of this ice storm is going to be more vicious than yesterday's for 2 simple reasons. We're going to see, in some cases, twice as much ice, and winds, which weren't a factor yesterday, will be a factor tonight into tomorrow.
Oh my god, so
The ice
they knew it was going to be worse?
storm has been locked in place above the city by a huge area of high pressure in the Atlantic Ocean.
Oh my god.
This system has brought all of the North American weather systems to a standstill. The normal pattern of west to east weather flow is blocked. Montreal is about to be entombed in ice.
Great.
I never see so many times a long-lasting freezing rain period like we had Monday into Tuesday.
And meteorologists could offer no words of encouragement.
Yeah.
In front of warm, wet air
Well, their job is to tell you the truth, not to make things
coming
easier.
from the southern U.S. states will last for days.
Well, I don't want to be pessimistic, but this is objectively what is the situation going to be.
It's not just Canada that's being hampered and hammered by these winds and bad weather. The northeastern United States is also being battered very hard by this storm.
Well, the power went off at about 9 o'clock, and then we didn't pay too much attention to it. But we had in the back of our mind the trouble in Canada. They were without power, and this big storm coming with all the ice. What are we going to do? So we started thinking we got to look up a generator.
Yeah.
Up along the Canadian border in the tiny hamlet of Perry's Mills, there's already ice. But at this point, the ice is more spectacle than disaster.
This is going to sound awful, but at first it was kind of exciting because you've never seen anything like this.
Okay,
And
yeah.
You would run from one window to the next and go, oh my God.
Yeah, just in awe of the whole thing. Oh my god, look at this.
And then it got terrifying.
Yeah.
North of the border, an eerie preview of what's coming. Trees crashing through cars. More than 500,000 Hydro-Quebec customers in the dark.
This is News Channel 5 at 6.
By the 6 o'clock news, Tom Messner is starting to sound the alarm.
You're going to have a major icing problem. That's what we're thinking about.
Waiting for the day's second computer model.
Words no one wants to hear.
When I saw that one, I was really concerned because you could see that this was something we hadn't dealt with probably ever.
Overnight, trees and poles weighted down with ice will come crashing down, and the number of people without power and without heat will suddenly skyrocket. What started out as a nasty winter storm is becoming a full-fledged natural disaster.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
It's day 3 of the ice storm, and everything
How are people still going outside?
in Montreal is covered. Over an inch of ice has accumulated as the continuous freezing rain smothers the city.
Day 3 of Quebec's ice storm crisis. More than 1 million households and businesses across southwestern Quebec mainly are now without power and in many cases heat. The big hit today is on the south shore from Chateauguay and Beauharnois all the way to Boucherville down to Granby. 560,000 plus hydro customers out. What kind of deadline are you holding out for people when things might come back to semblance of normal?
Nothing.
Well, I think it would be realistic not to expect power for a few more days. Some people will be out of power until next week.
Of course. It's to be
Hydro
expected.
crews are overwhelmed. The federal government sent in hundreds of Canadian Forces personnel to help out, but nobody can stop this ice storm.
Yeah. It's good that they're
And to
getting
help
help,
get
but...
the power back on, Hydro is calling in reinforcements from the United States.
Hi. How you doing? Dave Sanders. Good. I've never seen a sea like this here. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Everywhere, trees are breaking, power lines are falling. More and more people are going into the dark.
This is well, you know, what are you going to do? The worst part is you can't do anything about this. You're just going to have to, well, let it be.
The situation with power
Which I think maybe makes it more stressful because there's nothing you can do.
outages on the West Island is changing by the hour, forcing some shelters to close. So if you need a place to stay, call your city hall first and find out what's available.
Yeah, I would be so concerned about people, homeless people, and people that don't have homes or whatever. It's going to be
The
awful.
Aquatic Center in Point Claire will be home to more than 200 people tonight. Residents have to sign up to secure a bed. The shelter is providing food, even entertainment for the kids.
Yeah.
It's operating at full capacity. And city
Maybe the kids, hopefully, they were having a nice time and not having to be worried about this.
officials fear the situation will only get worse.
Going into the fourth day, more and more people give up and head for the shelters.
Yeah.
With no power, it takes
I think, probably people still try to write it out as much as possible until they realize we can't really handle this on our own.
less than 72 hours for the temperature of an unheated house to drop dangerously low. And this is when people are more susceptible to unseen dangers.
Oh my god.
Brain stops functioning well, you became less able to use your muscles.
The feeling of overwhelming tiredness hits, causing you to fall into what could become a deadly sleep.
This is so dangerous.
The story is we are stuck with this freezing rain and these ice pellets for at least another 24
That poor reporter had been reporting for 2 days at this point.
hours.
By the end of the third day, the storm has taken a firm hold on the city.
I hope the worst is over. Me too.
But for the people of Montreal, the worst is
What is it that you have to prepare for the worst but hope for the best?
yet to come. The city becomes mummified as it's wrapped tightly in layers of ice.
Mummified?
Forms of transportation start to become immobilized. Street by street, parts of the city are now plunged into darkness. But this ice storm is far from over.
You go through this route. Grand Isle County's pretty much closed down.
Again, it's crazy to me that people were still sort of driving their cars and stuff. What are you
battle
doing?
against power outages is a losing one. Since last night, the number of people without power in the Champlain Valley has multiplied 10 times.
Well, it's not just the trees and the ice and the
It's
wires.
Vermont.
Now we have flooding occurring.
The Winooski is running high,
Oh
but
my
the
God.
real concern is along the Ausable and the Missisquoi, which is starting to dam up with a mangled mess of trees,
Yeah, that's
branches,
concerning.
and huge chunks of ice.
I've lived here all my life, and this is the first time we ever seen it up this high. I mean, even in the spring when it gets really bad, this is worse than it's ever been.
It's gonna be awful.
Well,
Dangerous.
this storm is like none that we've ever seen here in the Champlain Valley. It is bad in the Champlain Valley, but it is worse in other places.
Yeah, they're having a lot of problems, as you probably know by now. North of the border, 1 million Canadians have no power, and they've been dealing with this ice since Monday now.
Oh my god.
The freezing rain poured down again all night long. When Quebecers woke up Friday morning, more of them were without electricity than ever, and things were about to get worse.
Oh, okay, they're trying to...
The signs of another bad day came early this morning. The skies rumbled with thunder and then opened
I can't really, well, you have to walk your dog, but I can't believe people were walking their dogs in this.
up yet again with freezing rain, the fourth straight day.
That person just walking around like it was nothing. Oh, there's a bunch of trees here. Whatever.
Day 4, the worst day yet.
Is the worst day? Oh my god.
I'm crying, I think. I'm very tired.
Oh no.
By late tonight, millions of Quebecers will be out of power.
Power is still coming in, but we do not have any backup anymore, so we are in a fragile situation at this moment.
Yeah, that's bad.
More fragile than we knew. A few days later, the premier would admit we came close to disaster that Friday.
Why?
5 lines supply power to Montreal. Only one was still working.
Oh.
While Hydro-Quebec desperately tried to calm fears at this press conference, the power went out.
Oh.
The reality is, by the end of the day, 3 million Quebecers were still in the dark.
The Rougemont area is an icy wasteland. The ice is relentless. It covers everything, including the many high-voltage lines that have fallen around here.
I can't believe we don't have something in place in order for, I don't know, for when this happens.
The city of Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu is trapped in ice.
But yeah, I don't know enough about electricity or engineering to know that, oh, this is a thing that happens and it's normal for it to happen.
4 days now, damage everywhere.
This town is at the heart of the Triangle of Darkness, a region southeast of Montreal where there is virtually no power and no hope of getting any soon.
Yeah.
The buildup of ice here is staggering.
It's hard to imagine just how much ice they got here around Rougemont. Take a look at this bush. Look at the thickness of ice compared to my hand.
Getting any supplies to the South Shore was difficult.
Impossible.
Late in the afternoon, the bridges closed. Ice was falling from the superstructures.
People found out the hard way that Montreal subway trains run on electricity.
For the first time in 30 years, all the metro lines stopped working.
Oh my God, they hadn't stopped in 30 years.
Neighborhood, there is simply no electricity, forcing many residents here to evacuate until power can be restored.
Yeah.
Utility companies say it could take weeks before repairs are made. Nearly 1 million homes and 3 million people are now without electricity. The military has been called out to help. The storm is expected to move out to sea tonight, but forecasters say it will be followed by a major snowstorm.
Oh my God.
ABC News, Montreal.
With this severe of an ice storm, the
Seriously, what do you mean can an ice storm follow after this?
coating of ice that disabled much of the man-made infrastructure also takes a huge toll on nature. A single 50-foot conifer will accumulate as much as 45 tons of ice during a prolonged period of freezing rain. Many trees won't survive this extra weight.
As ice starts to glaze on trees and power lines, it doesn't look like it weighs that much. Don't be fooled, it does. Get this, 1 inch of ice thickness per 1 foot weighs 7 pounds.
Not only were they down, they looked like they'd been just exploded. When they hit the
It's going to be very dense. Of course they're going to fall.
ground, they would shatter.
I heard a crack, and right as I looked up, that part of the tree was coming down at me, so I dove out of the way.
That's
I never
dangerous.
screamed so loud in my life.
Desolation all over the city. The trees, ecological disaster for Montreal.
By the end of day 4, Montreal is
I'm still shocked by the amount of cars still driving.
Now it had been almost untouched by the catastrophic blackouts,
Are they sort of leaving the place and getting into shelters?
but tonight it
Trying to
too
lift
was
the
hit.
city?
This is the view from Montreal's lookout, a city in the depth of darkness after the most difficult day of this crisis so far.
I can't. Oh my God, and people were walking in this weather. That's even crazier to me than people driving.
It's a total blackout because if downtown has no light, there's probably none at all.
Well, worst case scenario, you can sort of get the ice to melt and then you get water.
Water treatment facilities servicing 15 municipalities has gone down.
So on top of all of the misery, the blackout, the cold houses, no heat, and this has been going on for 4 days, on top of that, there's a large chunk of the population of Montreal tonight that does not even have water. The situation in this city tonight is really, truly desperate.
I guess if there's any good news at this moment, it's what's falling in front of you there. It's snow, and that means it's not freezing rain, but it also means it's getting colder, and that brings with it its
Yeah, what's colder? It's a snowstorm or ice storm?
own dangers. Tom Kennedy reporting
It
to us
depends.
tonight from the streets of Montreal. The people of Montreal have been taking everything this storm could throw at them, and they have persevered.
Well,
That kid did not want to want their hair washed.
I think Montrealers, I think they're hardy by nature, and I think that basically they're going to cope with this, and they've coped with other things.
At the Weston Hotel on the dark side of Sherbrooke Street, hotel employees guided guests to their rooms and the hotel's restaurant, where a cold buffet and some hot music kept up their spirits.
That's nice. That's good of them.
Basically, we want to keep people busy, change their mind because
everyone is fairly stressed.
In the shelter I visited today, I found people in remarkably good spirits, remarkably grateful to and patient with the people who are helping them.
Things are bound to get
Yeah, because what are you going to do? They're trying to do their best, but again, you can't fight against nature.
better because right now many are saying they just can't get much worse.
Well, those are not good news. It can always get worse.
Then we lost power for more than half of the province.
There's very few air bubbles in the water droplet.
The storm has now laid down a solid pack of ice of over 4 inches deep, thicker than a sidewalk slab, and just as strong. Once the ice layers reach over 4 inches deep, their sheer weight threatens every major structure. And there is nothing more important to a city in crisis than the giant steel transmission towers that bring its power. The freezing rain has spread over an area of 70,000 square miles, taking out towers across the entire region. Montreal sits on an island connected to the outside world by bridges and tunnels.
Oh, he mentioned an island, but I thought it was an island in Montreal. I had no idea Montreal was an island.
Receives its last desperate
Monitoring the whole situation, but again, there's really not much you can do.
bid to save the only power line left. The energy companies literally take matters into their own hands,
Okay. Oh, there was something they could do. Okay.
smashing it off by hand.
Oh, you can do this.
A delicate operation to de-ice the line. The strategy? A crew hovering in an armed forces helicopter, dropping logs on the line to knock the ice off.
That's insane. Again, can you do this? And it's not going to break the whole thing?
Unconventional, unprecedented, but it
Okay, unprecedented. This is not something that people did before this. Okay, it was something they came up with on the heat of the moment.
As the sun rises, Montreal breathes a collective sigh of relief.
They managed to
Remaining
hold on.
power lines were saved, and much-needed power slowly returns to the city.
Don, can you give us the good news we've been waiting for?
Deborah, there is good news tonight. Dear friends at home, we can tell you we can now bring closure to the worst ice storm on record. The changeover has taken place. We've got light flurries falling in the greater Montreal area. As for ice, forget it.
After the big freeze, the big thaw.
The thaw, that's going to be even more disastrous to me.
Ahead, the long process of recovery and cleaning up. This window of decent weather may be very small. It's supposed to get colder and colder over the next few days.
Oh my
So
God.
you can imagine what went on here today. A huge effort to make the most of this opportunity.
Okay, yeah.
To get ice off bridges, to clear debris off the street.
It's insane to me. They're doing this by hand, just sort of with a hammer and being all tuck. That's crazy. Don't they have other machines? I don't know.
Most of all, to restore power to the city of Montreal.
This was an uneasy calm after the storm.
I'm wondering if sort of volunteers are also helping this.
Downtown Montreal, much of it still with
Because again, if you can do this just with a sort of with a hammer, well, yes, I have nothing else to do. Sure, I will help.
power was turned into a massive pedestrian mall. Dozens of streets were closed, too dangerous to pass. Ice,
course.
huge chunks of it, continued to rain down from above.
Imagine this falling on top of your head or your car. This is dangerous.
Despite the break in the weather,
And it sounds kind of funny, but no, I think it's actually dangerous, sort of cartoon-like. But no, this can kill you.
life has not returned to normal, far from it. Montrealers
course
were
not.
told not to drink the tap water. That prompted a rush on bottled water. This store was cleaned out.
Yeah, of
Even
course.
one of the proudest
What happened?
symbols of the city, hockey's Montreal Canadiens, couldn't escape the effects of the storm. Their game against New York tonight was postponed.
Oh, clearly.
On the first day of relief from the onslaught of ice pellets, there was still shell shock from the ravages of the ice war.
This looks like worse. Because obviously after everything happens, I can guess people were sort of, well, we have to really go outside and see what's the deal, what's the situation, what are
And any
what are the
hurricane I've
damages?
ever seen. I mean, the West Island. I thought where we are was pretty bad, but this is incredible. This is devastation.
I was in Winnipeg yesterday. It's the first time in my life I wish I stayed in Winnipeg.
People start
Okay, and where's Winnipeg? Is it far?
to venture out, inspecting the damage and telling stories of another harrowing night.
I can't believe it. This is the first time I've seen it. It's really
Crazy.
sad. I feel bad for a lot of these people.
You know, it's like a war zone. You know, it's just I can't
get over how bad it was.
And of course, I think people were, again, it's just very cold as well, which I'm saying people were just sort of very dressed up, and it's still incredibly cold, which I think makes it a little bit, I'd be kind of traumatized by the whole thing.
And as the power crews begin to get back up, they also begin to get almost unbelievable estimates about outages. Nearly 200,000 customers out in Vermont and northern New York. More than 500,000 people.
NYMO says, get this, 99% of its customers are without power.
That's the northern part of New York. That's unbelievable.
I've never seen an ice storm of
Unprecedented, but I don't think you've ever had an ice storm like this before.
this nature. Yeah, you go through even the main streets. Forget about the back streets, and you see the trees and the power lines down, and you just realize
I feel bad for this house, but at least the house still standing, which good.
this is something that's going to take quite some time to get over.
Yeah,
in Kingston,
unreal.
close to 75% of the area remains in the dark. That's because Ontario's Hydro's 2 main lines are down.
Mid-morning, an unprecedented step. I am declaring, as of 10 a.m. this morning, a state of emergency in Ottawa-Carleton.
The scope of this disaster is hard to take in, especially in the area that took the biggest hit, Montreal's South Shore. No one has escaped. Nearly every household, every business is blacked out in a string of cities and towns that have become known as the Triangle of Darkness.
You can see what happened
What an ominous name.
right here. Even small wires became like thick, heavy cables of ice.
That's
In
insane.
some of the areas around here, which is just
And it's kind of crazy that he was just sort of grabbing the thing without gloves. What?
south of Montreal, the whole distribution system has collapsed, and it could take weeks to get it back to normal.
Surprised it's only weeks because I think it was going to take a few months.
We met up with this convoy of linemen who drove to the South Shore all the way from Long Island, New York. They worked for a Connecticut-based power utility, and to our surprise, most were of French-Canadian heritage.
Originally stands in Quebec.
And what's your name, sir?
Remy Perrault.
Another francophone.
Yeah, we're working in down New York right now, but we came up here to help everybody.
Oh, that's nice.
CTV's Genevieve Bushman and her camera operator were reporting on the storm on the outskirts of Montreal in an area that is particularly hard hit. A hydro tower came crumbling to the ground, buckling under the staggering weight of the ice. The tower brought with it power lines attached to the massive steel structure. The CTV
I think you should probably move. I
crew
think.
was trapped, wires surrounding them on all sides. And you were trapped there for how long?
We were trapped there for several hours, actually. There was these massive high-tension wires around us, so we didn't know whether we could move at all.
As we've heard, people are
I think maybe it's safe because there's no power, right? So there's no power, there's no electricity, it's not going to be dangerous, but I wouldn't risk it.
dying and collapsing from use of barbecues, propane, and other heaters inside their powerless homes. And they're ignoring warnings about touching wires or cutting trees down. With the power out, it's more a question of not hearing the warning in the first place.
35 people
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. But I think, again, maybe my logic would be that if there's no power, so it doesn't matter. I wouldn't touch a light wire, but still.
disaster, and
I don't know.
500,000 people were forced from their homes. In the end, it left $5 billion in damage.
That's crazy.
Hi, I'm home. I have power.
Oh, I feel really great to be home.
A week later.
Progress. Emerging.
Yeah, then you're gonna have to go to your house if you're into a shelter and see what the damage is like in your neighborhood or house.
Darkness. The lights are coming back on.
After what was quite literally the darkest weekend in Montreal's modern history, at last there was light. By daybreak, power was back in the downtown core. Regular business was not.
Downtown officials say the roof of the Eaton Center is in danger of collapsing under pressure from...
I love seeing people with umbrellas because I think usually in places like this, when you carry an umbrella, people are, oh, that's the tourist. But no, here locals actually do carry umbrellas.
In Montreal, there had been an earlier report that the roof had collapsed and 100 people taking shelter in the complex had to evacuate.
Okay, that's
utility workers from across North America, the Army, and just about anyone who could lend a hand was
Okay, they do have volunteers. Yeah, everyone's trying to help, which I think is quite heartwarming.
trying to get the lights back on and clean up the mess.
Everyone should do their best.
One of the first things to do was to get rid of the tons of ice. There were some unique ways
It's crazy to me that still like, you're gonna have to get rid of the ice still. It's gonna wait for it to melt. No, you're gonna have to do this by hand as well.
of doing it, like the
After all the disaster and all the damages the ice has done, you're still gonna have to get rid of it.
team of police sharpshooters getting the ice off a communications antenna.
Oh my god! Ah! You can do this?
in Montreal, most people will have electricity
However, I don't know how much you're paying these people, but whatever it is, probably not enough.
in a day or two. Here on the South Shore, hundreds of thousands of people will stay in the dark for 2 more weeks.
This crew is one of about 10 working in the area of Saint-Hyacinthe, a city with no power for a week. The men are working from 12 to 18 hours a day.
Wow.
The pylons are taking shape quickly.
See, again, but hopefully they got a big bonus, they got a raise, because this is not easy.
Cable lies waiting to be strung, but it takes time. The lines here will not be up, the foreman says, before next week.
And as temperature
Again, they're doing their best, but they're only human.
plunged to -20, a major operation was underway to convince people without power to leave their homes.
After about a week or so, 8 days, I couldn't stay in my apartment anymore because it was way too cold. I realized when I stepped out of the apartment, it was an old four-story building built in the 20s. The hallway was totally dark. I realized that everybody was out of the building. I was the last one to leave.
Yeah, because people do not want to leave their homes. That's the last thing you want to do in a situation like this, but sometimes you just kind of have to.
As night falls, the temperature drops. Wind chills tonight will hit -30, the coldest since this crisis began more than a week ago.
Oh my God.
Firewood and other supplies are pouring in from other parts of Quebec, Canada, and the United States.
We're coming out of Richmond, Virginia, and we're bringing the beds and the tents for the people to sleep in.
Wow. That kind of makes me want to tear up. I don't know, seeing everyone so, I don't know, they're being so helpful. I don't know, it didn't want to, maybe it was making me want to cry.
She called me and said, well, we got an emergency. We got people up there in Canada that's sleeping outside in these beds. And I told them, I said, well, I'll be in.
Yeah.
This storm is
still the human nature. Just what a thing.
more than just freezing rain and downed power lines. It's also people coming together to help.
Yes.
Neighbors helping neighbors.
Everyone.
People volunteering for countless hours in shelters. And the kindness of strangers.
The guy that came around the corner and hooked me back up to the electricity came in a truck that had a Massachusetts license plate on. Oh, yeah. And this kid looked like Adonis. A Greek god of electricity hooking up, you know? I was never happier in my life.
See, I'm crying because, again, it's just so nice. Sometimes I think people and humans can be very bad, but sometimes they can be very good as well.
And more signs things were getting back to normal. Schools started reopening.
Did you enjoy your extended Christmas holiday?
Wow.
You did?
Probably kids without electricity there. Well, sure, good. I didn't have to go to school, but we didn't have anything.
You enjoyed being home without power?
And everyone had
Oh, they said yes. Well, maybe they were keeping them entertained with
a
toys.
story to tell about his or her extra long vacation.
I had an oven stove.
You have an oven stove?
Yeah.
What's an oven stove?
Oh, okay. For kids, it was exciting, of course. Yeah, probably. That's good.
I made a wood stove.
A wood stove.
In the fridge, some of our things went bad, but we're still okay. And my mom now is like going for groceries today.
You wonder exactly how we survived that devastating ice storm of '98? Just look to your neighbors.
Everybody was in it together. You were without power, so were 20,000 other people right around us and didn't have it any worse than anybody else.
Yeah.
But you helped your neighbor, and your neighbor
A great equalizer. At least we're all looking up.
helped you.
Rough from the bottom.
Somehow has brought out the best in people.
Yeah.
I think it's everybody's working together and enjoying it.
It's made people far more human and realize that what we can do for each other.
A little laugh therapy to lighten things up.
Considering the time that we're all facing right now, it's been very stressful for our family and for a lot of people around here, so it's definitely very uplifting.
Show you that people care, you know? They really do care.
I've actually been helping out today, so it's given me something to do.
Now, could I judge by your accent that you may never have seen anything like this before?
No, we're from England, so we've only been here a year, so we're still coping with the Canadian weather, let alone this. So.
Well, you'll only see this once in a lifetime, they say, such as this.
Yes.
It's just probably, hopefully, or otherwise we're going to move back.
What were some of the lessons learned from this? You mentioned generators. I think a lot more people and farms have generators now.
Well, there are probably lessons learned, but it's going to be so long before something like this happens again. We'll probably have to learn all over again.
Oh no.
Mother Nature reminded us
Oh yeah, because people are going to forget. Yes, it's not going to happen again in 40 years.
that she can still wreak havoc with our high-tech modern way of life with almost no warning in a way we almost never expected.
Yeah.
We also learned that here in Quebec, more people heat with electricity than in just about any other part of the world. But what we should really remember is how much we depended on our friends and our neighbors, on strangers from nearby and from far away.
You know, from a meteorologist's point of view, this was certainly the most interesting thing I've ever seen. I mean, it was mind-boggling what was going on.
As far as I'm concerned, it's definitely the biggest weather-related thing I've ever covered in my life.
And no doubt, most of us who lived through it will never forget the ice storm of '98.
1997 was said to be the warmest year on record. In fact, since records were
So far, back in those
kept
days.
at all.
A lot of folks think that the ice storm in '98 was a once-in-a-lifetime event, but the reality is it will happen again.
Yeah.
Milder winters may mean the conditions to create the perfect ice storm could be just around the corner.
Oh. Well. They're encouraging.
Montreal's one to watch. CFCF 12.
Okay, so I think ultimately it was obviously a crazy thing to have happened. But I really do like to harken back to what he mentioned, two things. And I think those are probably the best two sort of things about this and this sort of learning experience, which is of course, again, the kindness of strangers. I think, as I already mentioned, I think human nature and sometimes humans can be very destructive. They can be very damaging to other people. And again, it's just it just in general, of course. But I think moments like this, I think really do sort of revive a little bit your faith in humanity, because it's, see how people were just flying all over the US to help. And it's a good thing. And they were just doing that because they wanted to help, because they know what an awful time these people, they're going through something bad. And if it's in my power to help, and I don't know these people, but I don't have to know them. If I can sort of do something to improve their lives, or again, they're going through a very bad situation and I can help them, why wouldn't I? If it's in my power, I will. And again, that should be sort of the thought process, I think, for society in general, which, again, you don't have to know anyone or you don't have to get anything back, just because of the sense of, I wouldn't like to be in this position and in this situation. And I would like that if I were in that position, someone would come and help me. So I think that's obviously, that should be the principle. And as we could see, it definitely was. And not just, of course, people that came from the US, people, again, Canadians and people that lived in Canada, that were just sort of helping, all of them, the ones that were helping in shelters, the ones that were serving food, the ones that were providing entertainment, the people, the workers, the Hydro, I think it was Hydro Montreal, something like that, the power company, people in the power company, volunteers, the firemen, policemen, everyone that was sort of helping, because it's not easy to help under those conditions. Again, you don't really know what the future is going to hold. It's sort of, well, they knew the forecasts, but still, and even the reporters as well, that they were sort of trying, even though, well, for people that were not in there, because obviously they didn't have electricity, but still people they wanted to know. And of course the reporters and journalists and all of that, all of them were still trying to bring information to probably other parts of the country, because I think obviously you have people they had family or friends or loved ones that were in Montreal and all of those places affected. So of course everyone got together and helped. And again, it's not easy because you don't know what the future is going to hold. Is the storm going to get worse? It's going to get better. It's going to last 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. It's forecast, but at the end of the day, it's not a prediction. It's not an exact science, because you can't. But still, it's sort of they were trying to do their best with what they had. And again, they were all coming together. Everyone's coming together to help them and to just help everyone, help your neighbors, help anyone. And it was really like he said, it just those, I always say I mentioned the bigger ones, but like the guy that was mentioning, some guy just came and helped me because my car was stuck. And again, all those little acts of kindness, and again, you're sort of relying on the kindness of strangers, and it is very nice. And all the workers and everyone, it's really nice, and it's really heartwarming, and it's a little bit of, hey, we can still do this, and it's a reminder that people sometimes, again, in this sort of darkness in the world sometimes, and a lot of times actually in moments like this, you can see, hey, not everything's lost. People are still able to do this, and still there's human nature. I think there's a part of everyone wants to help, and everyone wants to do their best to help other people. I really do believe that, and it's sort of, again, because it's just probably it's human nature. And the other thing is that you can really do see in sort of the great scope of things that I don't know if this is like this. It was in 1998. I don't know if things have changed, and if maybe we have sort of better technologies in place in order to withstand something like this happening. If it does, or when it does, because they were very clear, it's going to happen again. Again, nobody knows exactly when, but it's going to happen again. So I'm wondering if technology has made it so that maybe this was a learning experience again for the electrical companies, I don't know, electrical workers, engineers or something, in which, what we can do to improve this. Is there something we could do? Because again, I didn't really know that ICE had the power to sort of get rid of power in that way of, they're sort of taking out power lines and all of that. Because it seems very easy and sort of, it's so simple when you think about this, but I don't know what it hadn't sort of occurred to me to something on this level. I think it's, don't they have sort of, I don't know, some things in place in order for this not to happen? But no, apparently we don't, and it's kind of crazy to think. And again, it was in 1998, which I think it was obviously less technology than we have these days, but still kind of crazy. How sort of reliable, and we're very reliable we rely a lot on electricity, and of course that's the backbone of society in a way, which is crazy to think. Imagine something like this happening right now, because again, it was such a disaster in 1998. Imagine this happening right now in this day and age. It would be crazy. It would be a disaster. And because again, we're so reliant on electricity, and on technology, and we think we're so, as humans, it's a great feat that we have achieved this, and of course it is. But at the same time, I think those reminders and something like this is a little reminder that even then, with all our power and of course, human beings and human nature and all of that, we're still kind of hopeless and defenseless against something like this, again, nature basically. And it is kind of humbling. I think it's a really humbling experience to be, wow, we are so great, we are so powerful. Look, everything we build the world, we build the modern society. But even then, it's, well, can we really deal with this? We sort of can't. But again, it's just, you're not expecting something like this to happen, probably. It's something like that one of the guys said. We're going to learn a lot of things like this, that people now know we need to have generators, and we need to have maybe some things in place, and because you're maybe a little bit traumatized by this, but this only, the whole aftermath of the whole thing, probably next winter, probably people were a little, we know what we have to do. We got a generator, we have our stuff. But again, as time goes on, and maybe if you don't have an ice storm like this very close, years go by, and you kind of tend to forget. And he said, it's really important what he said, by the time another ice storm comes, all sort of the lessons learned are going to be lost in history and through the annals of history, which, I think that was very smart, because it tends to happen like that. Sadly, it is. And you think, people are not going to forget. This was such a huge thing. But no, trust me, people absolutely do forget. So I like, because it was very smart from coming from that guy. He was, I absolutely agree. People, by the time this happens again, people are gonna lose all the things that, oh my God, how did we even made it? And again, probably if people, obviously this was sort of semi-recent, a lot of people that lived through the storm back in that time, of course, they're alive right now. So if something like this were to happen again, I'm wondering how they would cope. I think they were probably, again, because we're more reliant on electricity right now. So it would be a little more, oh my God, how on earth did I made it 30 years ago, 25 years ago? I don't know how long that was. But it would be even more of a disaster now. But again, a reminder, it was a reminder again of how small kind of humans are, despite all of our greatness and our sort of grand, oh, we're so incredibly big. Well, you know what? Guess what? Against nature, we are sort of powerless, helpless, and we're kind of nothing ultimately. But that was it for today, and I'll see you next time. Bye!